Hey, good morning. Good morning, fellow watch people. How are you? Welcome to a Twilight episode of the Rich Buddy live show. Thank you for joining. It's one of them Twilight shows. It's 4 a.m. here in Hollywood land. We'll start off a little slow here. Give a chance for some people to catch up, and then we'll get started. I thought today we might revisit the Omega Transitional story. Let's just go back and watch an old video together. And as it turns out, when I looked up the video, it happened to be my very first Watch Talk video, or maybe even my first Talking Watches video. I'm not sure. We'll look together, but it's actually one of my very first live streams. I was really surprised about that. I didn't realize that. So this is a 4-year-old video we're going to watch, going over the Omega Transitional and what it is and how I discovered it. And to be honest, I don't remember it all. So let's see how good of a job I did 4 years ago discussing that transitional and its rarities and things like that. All right, so we'll chill out for a minute. Let's give a couple of minutes for some other folks to join us, since it's I guess on the East Coast, people might be waking up 7 a.m. We got Snaky here to say hello. Say hello, Snaky. Say hello. Hi. Hello. For those of you guys who don't know, I just learned how to tame a snake. And this was a total wild snake, and I freaking learned how to tame it myself. I got bit twice, but that's it. I got bit twice, but other than that, I really got her accustomed to be honest, the damn thing loves me. So let's check it out here. Let's check it out here, guys. Let's check it out. Okay, so we've got right here is where we're gonna watch the stream. And yeah, it's Talking Watches, literally episode 1. Isn't that amazing? So this is my first Talking Watches episode. And it looks like I actually unboxed it. So Bud the Stud and Watch Wrangler should be in here. Okay, let's check it out. Let's see what gives.
Okay. You were just off the net for a while.
Let's see where we start talking about it here.
Now, are we talking about the Batman or the Batgirl?
No, this is the Batman. Yeah. So yeah.
How long ago did you trade that in for your president?
I traded the Hulk and the Black GMT for the president back about 3 months ago.
Oh wow!
And then about a month later, I traded the Batman for the Daytona.
That was only a couple of months ago?
Well, I guess I don't know. The year's going by fast. I guess it happened it was before.
Okay, let's fast forward a bit.
So it happened in March.
So where
gotcha.
Like we start talking.
Then both
about
watches
things.
exploded after I did.
321.
Yeah, because you keep in mind, I ended up with a bit of a collection one. I've got a 321. I've got an 861, with the double patina winner. I've got a Mark II, a Mark 4.5, and a Flightmaster.
Oh, this looks like it's going to be a fun video to watch, right? Okay, let's enjoy this.
Flightmaster also has the 861 as well. The 321 is a, let me see, 105.012-66.
Yeah, that's the one we want to hear about.
No, it was the very last of the pre-moons. It was also one of the last references to,
So it's a 67.
yes. Well, it was made in 67, but -66 is the reference number.
Sure.
And it's just really in exceptional shape. What happened to prior owner locally, they dented the hollow end link on the top, and I think just threw it in the drawer and never looked at it again.
They did what? They dented it on the top? What did you say?
Yeah, the top hollow end link.
Okay. And they just wanted to,
Hit it on the door.
sometimes people ding their watch and they want to get rid of it, right?
Yeah, and they just threw it in the door and never looked at it. So I literally took it to a watch place, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we can bend that back real easy, $5." So the thing is, it's really, really in truly exceptional shape. I've had people accuse me of it being a reproduction bezel insert, but no, it's original.
Mm. And what's the case back? On the case back, what kind of logo and texting is on
Seahorse.
the seahorse?
It's a pre-moon. So applied indice, dot over 90. Pi pan dial. So with your transitional one, now Dr. BBW has one, and this is quite a while back. He thought, well, the 321s, even a few years ago, were getting nuts. So he looked for yours, and he found a good price on yours, and he was quite happy. He's still quite happy with it.
Oh, okay, good. Gotcha. I'm looking for that table to bring up that here's that table right here. Let me see. To pull up yours on that table.
See if I've got a picture of it.
60.
Fortunately.
So it's over here. Yours was a dash
105.012-66.
Right. So it would be right here. It probably has one of these serial numbers here, either a 23 or a 24 serial number, probably.
Right.
Yeah. And so mine came just after yours. Right.
Exactly.
So let me see.
Oh, jump here and find mine. No, I don't have one on this computer, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Do I have the? Well, I've got the case. I've got the movement.
Oh, a picture of the movement?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the movement, that's where the serial number was on those Omegas, was on the movement. And I think it wasn't until 1970 that they started putting the serial number on the actual outside of the case.
Right.
Something else I was learning about when I was, there's so many little details. I guess they also changed the length of the hour markers on the minute track. Those are shorter now. So I'm looking at an article right here as we speak, and it says if you look closely, you will also discover that the hour markers are longer on the later references. They stop at the minute track on the older references. So that's a little difference that I didn't notice, that I probably wouldn't have noticed unless I read about it right now.
Well, yeah, and because I kind of hate to say, I got real lucky because this 321, it came up less than a mile from the house from a watchsmith that I've known for a couple of years. But that's the sort of it's the vintage minefield. I mean, I went to the middle of the minefield, snatched up the 321, and walked back, and kept my legs, my feet, and my arms. But I think the vintage Speedmasters, it's almost like the 1680s.
Mm-hmm.
The super collectible ones, really big money involved, and you really especially have to know. You almost have to be a subject matter expert to not lose your ass on those things.
Right, right. Hey, how do I lock my screen so it doesn't switch off of me? Do you know?
Well, what happens is that do you see in the lower right hand corner? It probably has you and then me and then Rich.
Yeah.
Or click where it says you,
and then present to everyone.
And that presents that, yeah. Rich Buddy is presenting to everybody.
There we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's
but really, I think when it comes right down to it, I think any 861 Speedmaster, finding a good price on that one with tritium that hasn't been heavily molested is probably your best shot right now.
I was playing around with some of my watches today, and I'm really in love with this Universal Geneve. Tan, I picked up this Universal Geneve. It arrived yesterday, and let me see if I can present it. I thought of this might work if I try to check the background of the camera. Maybe it'll focus on the watch. Let's see. This is the Universal Geneve I picked up yesterday. I don't know if I can get it to focus. I don't know. Yeah, it's just a poor camera, I suppose. But when you look at the car in the background, or me, it's pretty sharp. So hey, whatever. I'll have to figure
it doesn't zero in too good, but yeah, when you look at the car or it looks fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure that out. I'll try to improve that somehow. Oh, hey, look at that. I got polishing cloth.
Nice.
I don't even get that from Rolex. So this came from a collector's coins, jewelry, watches. So some kind of a jewelry shop.
Nice.
So, hey.
I actually got a polishing cloth when I got that 36 millimeter date, just the steel one. 16220.
And they gave me a card and their Instagram. All right, I didn't know they had an Instagram. I'll check them out. I'm going to have to throw them, hashtag them on my watch shots. All right, let's see this thing. Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
That bezel is mint. I don't think I've ever really seen one of these, to be honest. It looks very clean. So
I'm trying to zoom in a little bit.
Maybe if I
That is okay. That does well. It's a little blurry, but all the blurs appear to be uniform. Looks like there's not a lot of damage on it at all.
No, it doesn't. Let me see. Maybe that'll work. See if I block the back out. Oh, how does that work? That's better, isn't it? If I block the background out and then back off a little bit.
Do you have a webcam or the one that comes in your computer?
Oh, check this out. I thought of something else too right now. Hold on. This is the reflection off the screen. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Hold on. I just turned the screen off. I can't. Maybe that works.
No.
No.
Not really. Sure is white, though.
That's not. Anyway, Okay, let me check it out. Let me inspect it here a minute. I can see the minute markers extend into the upper step. That's pretty cool. And the hand is the hand with the counterweight. You know, it's got the, is that what it's called? A counterweight? What's it called when it has a larger second hand rather than just a straight line? It's got a teardrop or a triangle on the second.
Yes.
On the long hand, the chronograph long hand, which they did away with that in the following
iteration.
There you go.
When they went to the 145.022, I think.
Boy, this thing looks this.
That's
You know what?
that
I wasn't.
was an interesting little tidbit there that I totally forgot about. Let's just rewind that part where we talked about that.
The hand with the counterweight. You know, it's got the, is that what it's called? A counterweight? What's it called when it has a larger second hand rather than just a straight line? It's got a teardrop or a triangle on the second.
Yes.
On the long hand, the chronograph long hand, which they did away with that in the following
iteration.
There you go.
Oh, did you guys know that? Did you guys know that piece of information right there? That's kind of big, right?
Went to the 145.022, I think.
Boy, this thing looks this. You know what? I wasn't. The watch looks better aesthetically than I imagined. I don't think have I ever really seen a Speedmaster. I got to be honest. I'm not sure if I really have seen one other than behind a counter. I've never tried one on, and it looks better than what I expected.
Now Tanzil's saying Christian from he's saying Christian from Leo and Ferris kept the bracelet and put it on a water damaged Speedy instead.
Oh. Yeah, I have no doubt. People who sell these, they piece out the box, they piece out the case backs, they piece out the straps. They tear apart these things and ruin them, right?
I hope there's a special place in watch hell for those people.
Speaking of that, the guys that make the fake watches, those guys drive me crazy. That are on Craigslist with the fake watches. Is anybody else come across them? Those
all the time, but they're around here. They're usually pretty decent about saying replica or whatever, or Folex or whatever.
Yeah, they don't sell them as replicas though. They sell them as, they try and make them a real watch and sell them. And yeah, that's a problem in Denver. I know that.
Now Tanzil's saying you probably source a period correct bracelet in Omega forums. Now Tanzil actually did me a solid because I sent him the picture of the movement. I actually sent that to Tanzil so he could send off the information. Now, if you want to get archive papers in the U.S., you have to take it to an Omega AD or boutique, and they have to send out. They have to take it apart, and then give you the watch back, and they send off for the archive papers.
That's how I do that. I have to go to the Omega boutique.
Yep.
So
Canada.
Am I paying for that? Am I getting a service?
Oh, yeah.
What am I doing?
Well, I think they're going to touch the watch, so you are going to pay for it.
Can you do?
How do I ensure? How do I ensure they're not going to?
Do you want me to go ahead and keep talking, or do you want to?
Go ahead.
Sorry, man, but let me just get the point out real quick. If you can get the back off and take a picture or something, if you've got a friend in Canada, they can send off for it, and they don't have to go through that bullshit in Canada. It's only here in the U.S. because our consumer protection laws suck. Now then, Rich, what was your question?
If you give it to Omega, or do you have to be scared that anybody's going to screw it up and change the dial or anything?
You shouldn't be scared. You should be very scared.
Yeah.
I would know if just make sure that swear on a stack of Bibles and have them sign something saying you will keep it here. You're not going to send it off. Because one of the things I understand is if you ship it off to Omega, they will molest the fuck out of it.
Wow.
They will strip off all the training and say, "Oh, this is dangerous." And
I don't get that. I don't understand that.
What about an insurance appraisal? Is that like kind of like Rolex does? Can they do an insurance appraisal there?
I don't even have an Omega dealer. I don't even have an Omega dealer in my state, so I can't tell you that for sure. You could probably get on the Omega forums.
I know here they got the Omega dealers and do an insurance appraisal, but they do it right there at the store, and maybe it's just a big enough store, but I don't think they send it away, Rich.
I'm not into the strap, but I'll change the strap to something vintagey.
Now,
or I'll get the bracelet. I'm going to get the 1039 bracelet.
10-4 on the 1039. Now, if you don't mind me asking, how much?
9,000 even. Pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Really good.
I don't know. I'd have to look around and see. I'm ignorant, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I haven't seen any. Wait. I did find one for 16,000. I found one for 16,000.
A transitional for 16. What the fuck?
No, wait, it wasn't. But no, it wasn't. Wait, that was something else. Like somebody sent me one thinking it was, but it was the wrong. I think they sent me your watch. That was 16,000. Sound about right? 3, 2, 1.
It's hard to tell. I wouldn't be surprised. Now that sounds a little bit less surprising.
Look, I've seen watches that are not transitional, so they're less desired with the painted logo, not dot over 90, and they're 9,000, same price as this. So I got.
Well, the thing is, you got the dot over 90, you've got the metal, you've got the applied logo. You're good.
Yeah,
that is a good looking watch.
People are paying 9,000 for without those extra collectible features on it.
Wow.
I think there was another video where
it's an extremely
like the
brilliant quality
video. Let me pause it here a second. We got some good info out of this one with Clivers, to be honest. Let me pause this one real quick and go back to and see if there's another video. Okay, this one. It's this one right here where I go over all the details. Okay, that was kind of fun. So let's switch now to this video, because this video is going to have all the details. Let's check this one out.
And I'm going to see where am I going to start my screen.
Okay, here we go, baby. Here we go. I found the bread and butter. Here we go. Bingo bango. This is my first Watch Talk episode. So both of these were my first episodes. They were both on the Speedmaster. Okay, so this is going to be good. Let's watch this.
All right, let's see how that works.
Let's skip it
Draw
up.
me into it.
Here we go.
And it looks like I found something to that effect.
Here we go.
Draw me in.
Here we go.
I'm not going to be a TGV rat, so let's talk about where I learned a lot about this watch, and we'll give them some due credit. Fratello magazine.
There we go.
This is a great magazine. This gentleman, Robert Janbroer, wrote an article about the Speedy, a very extensive article, which I'm going to share with you today. We'll give him all full due credit. And we're going to go through his article, because this article, to be quite honest, with a lot of other stuff I researched, helped me make my decision. But I thought this was a great article to share with you guys. If you are definitely interested in buying a Speedmaster, I really do think you would want to watch this video, especially if you don't know much about them, because I did a lot of, I did hours and hours of research on my own before I procured this watch. So let's talk about, the easiest thing to do, to be honest, is going to be to kind of skim through this article. It'll kind of guide my discussion. So the reference numbers. Take a look here to this yellow sheet on the right of my page. You see the yellow sheet here to the right of my page where there's a list of these numbers. Well, these are all the speedies with the 0.022 reference number, which is the one we're going to be interested in. So if you look at this chart created by Roman Hartman, okay, this is a great chart. This chart by Mr. Hartman shows you the evolution of the Speedmaster, corresponding serial numbers, calibers, and case numbers referencing the year.
I just got to pause this and say that I did an amazing job on this video. Now that I'm rewatching this, man, I was on point. So please give me a thumbs up for doing such a kick butt job on this Omega Transitional video. Thanks. Only 300 people watched this video. This is kind of crazy. This original video of this should be, I need to figure out a way to push it so it gets a few thousand views for sure.
So let's go through here. Basically, the area of our interest is going to be around the moon landing period, 1966 to 1971. This is our area of interest right here. And what you're going to notice here is the renowned 321 movement in this column has been used up until 1968 into this moon watch. And in 1968, they had switched to the 861 caliber. So this is where we start our understanding of what we're looking for. The 321 caliber movement, when it became the 861 caliber movement, why did they do that? Well, it was an improvement. It was a technological design improvement, very significant, as a matter of fact, such that 861 is the basis for the current 1861, I believe it is, that's in there today. Does this go all the way? Yeah, the 1861. So you see here in 1997, they improved the 861 to the 1861. Look at that. You're basically looking at a 30-year period in which that 861 caliber survived. Pretty remarkable. Now, why did they move it? Why did they change it, upgrade? Well, technologically, it was a 21. They went from an 18,000 beat per hour caliber, 18,000 beat per hour, to a 21,600 beat per hour. And in addition, it was much cheaper to produce. I don't know the dollar figures, but that's just what the article refers to. Now, looking at the transition between 67, 68, and the year 1969 watches, let's concentrate on this a minute. Lots of people are looking for those 321s. That would be a natural thought. Let's go for the old vintage 321 movements. And yes, that's a good way to look at it. Going after those 321s that are going to be more scarce, harder to find. They're older. They were only produced through 1968. However, one thing to keep in mind is that there's a lot of them. I mean, there's not a huge amount of them, but there is a huge amount of them because it was a full production watch through 1968. Okay. So, yeah, you can get an old vintage 321 Speedy, good condition, make sure it's all proper, and you'll be proper with that watch. However, um, and that might have been something I went for. What's up, Clive? What's that reference? The -66 that you're speaking of? Is that the one that you have? Hi, bud. Oh, proper. It's proper. Join me, Clive, if you can. I sent you a link to your Wrangler email address. Um, so what I figured out is, look, here, let me go on a little side note here. What have I been shopping for? I'm gonna tell you guys what I've been shopping for. I have, in my mind, contemplated some of the under. Let me write them down here in the right column on the yellow sheet here. I personally have been deciding what watches are the sleepers. So take a look over here on the yellow sheet on the right of the page. I'm writing on here sleepers. What are the sleepers? And this led me to this watch. So I'm thinking to myself, look, I want my watches to be a little bit special. You know, I'm kind of a special ed guy. All right, I want a little bit of speciality in my collection. Okay, so what um what uh what was I looking for? What's a sleeper to me? A sleeper to me is a watch that hasn't popped yet. What's the next watch to pop? And I'm not necessarily interested in it for the money, but I am interested in it for the rush of getting that watch that's so coveted, perhaps. Or look, I'm looking at uh, these watches that are haven't been discovered yet. Okay, so and luck and over the past few years, I have been very lucky in purchasing watches that have become that were sleepers that woke up, and I didn't know they were sleepers at the time. I just picked what I liked, and there's an interesting guy on the internet. His name is Roman Sheriff, I think. I might have screwed his name up, but um, yeah, the rush of beating the herd, Clive. Well, it's just fun to get the right watch too. I'm gonna be honest. Buying these modern Rolex have been great. They're fabulous. I'm in hella love with them. You can't make a mistake buying a modern Rolex. You're not going to get screwed on counterfeit. Um, you're not going to get screwed on price. You're not going to get screwed on whatever. Okay, the watch not working. It's modern. So I went with modern. Now, as I've matured, I've learned, I feel I have a little bit more qualifications behind me to understand what's bullshit and what isn't. Um, I accidentally, the last couple of days, started discovering the vintage world, and I didn't realize how much fun it can be because it just sucks your ass in to research and research and research. And then when you start realizing all the different little nicks and knacks of the watch, and I'll tell you what's really cool is when you find the watch that has all the little nicks and knacks, like the one I found yesterday, it just, man, it just really, you know, puts a flame under your ass. Okay. So which watches have I been crazily stalking when I can't afford a watch? To be honest, I can't afford another watch, but I've been still stalking them. So let me write down the first one that I've been looking for. My first watch that I've been chasing was the Zenith Daytona, and more particularly the two-tone. Why? Well, everybody knows that the Zenith Daytona is hot to trot right now. I went and saw Kenny Nguyen a year ago, March of last year, 2018, to go have my Rolex sub-serviced, and he wanted a little too much, so I didn't do it there. And at the time, I was pulling the trigger on a 5196 Calatrava Patek, and that was already in my mind. I knew the watch I was getting. I'm pulling the trigger. At the time, I walked into Kenny Nguyen's shop, and when I walked into Kenny Nguyen's shop, he showed me a Zenith white dial Daytona mint condition for 17.8, and he tried to push it on me, and I didn't do it because I had that Patek 5196 in my mind at $14,700. How can you beat that? $14,700 for a 5196 Patek. So what the hell did I do? I got the Patek, but in hindsight, I wish I held off on the Patek and I got that white dial steel Zenith Daytona. It was all steel for 17.8, because now those are going for 24,000. So let's get back to the sleeper, the Zenith Daytona two-tone. I honestly believe if you can get one of these watches, you know, for 11,000 without papers, for 12,000 with papers, 12,500 with papers, I really think you're in the money on that watch. It's the last Zenith Daytona that honestly it hasn't appreciated. You know, that watch is, I mean, look, I don't give a damn if it's two-tone, three-tone, four-tone, made out of dog shit. It's got a Zenith Daytona in it, and it's a Rolex. That's all that matters to me. So, you know, all the kids out there that are crying about two-tone, it's an old man's watch, it's ugly, whatever, you know what? Screw you. When that Zenith Daytona is worth $25,000 in a couple of years, you're going to wish you bought it. And that's the bottom line. All right. So that was number one watch on my sleeper list. The number two watch on my sleeper list, that one. That Rolex GMT Pepsi Vintage. I believe these are, some of them have popped crazily, but what you need to understand and what I've been noticing, and I still got to get one of these, but what I've been seeing is that with the Rolex GMT Pepsi Vintage is that the prime examples of this watch, meaning, what do I mean by the prime examples of this watch? I'm talking about, hey, what's up, Blue? Boy, all you guys got wrenches. I gave the main dudes wrenches, man, and you guys all have them because there aren't that many people in here. What the hell was I saying? The Pepsi. Oh yeah, okay, so which ones have been bought up? Let's talk about this a second. Clive, which one of these, which of the Pepsi vintages have been bought up, Clive? It's been the older reference models,
The
models with
on a
the best
tangent
patina,
on that video and kept it
and the models in the
about the
best condition.
Omega. I'm gonna
Okay,
edit it and redo
that's
it.
what I think. And so what's left out there is what we need to pick up.
Maybe I should do that.
So if you see a Pepsi GMT that seems undervalued next to a peer GMT, you know,
That was
maybe
all
it's
good
not
advice back then,
the
wasn't
best
it?
year, maybe it's not the best condition, maybe it's not the best
Let's see
patina,
if I can move us up.
maybe of the Speedmasters have been model that came out within the 9 months production.
Okay, here we go. Here's where I start
Unless
talking
someone
about it
corrects me
again.
if
So
I'm
let's go
wrong.
there.
And not only that, there are differences within those 9-month production models.
Okay, let me just scoot it back. Just
there were some
here, right here
through here, going from one to the other. In 1968, specifically the first new 861 model that they made, the 145022 in 1968, was only produced for 9 months. 9 months. So it has the shortest lived production span of any of these Omegas, unless someone corrects me if I'm wrong. And not only that, there are differences within those 9-month production models. There were some, I want to call them pre-transitional. So you have the transitional 145022s in 1968, but for a very short period in between the old one and the new one, there was what I'm calling a pre-transitional transitional, and it had some slight differences between the one that came after it. So within that, so what I'm trying to say is within the 9 months production of the 1968 watch, they produced a slightly different variation of the watch for, I don't know, maybe a couple of months in that time. So imagine having one of these speedies that was not limited.
Okay, so I think I have a little bit better information than that now, since I've gotten mine back from Omega and it's dated April of 69, right? So I've got a little bit more better information than what I'm saying here. Because since my watch is dated April of 69 and my watch has the Applied Metal logo, you know, it's basically in a 321 case, that means that they were using that case. You know, look at the chart where it says 1968 and it's yellow to orange. The 145.012 switches to the 145.022. That's where they switch. So if you look at that right there, that's where they continue to use the case from 145.012, and they continue to use that case for all of the 1968 production. That's in orange. But not only that, it goes into 1969, and we know for sure that it goes at least through April of 1969 because my watch has that Applied logo in it still. So they were still using the 321 case. They hadn't run out of them yet, at least until April of 69. Does that make sense? So we're not exactly sure when they ran out of that case and when did they start painting them and stop using the 321 case, but we know that it is at least been used up until the watch I have as evidence, which is April of 69. So at some point right there, circa 1969, 1970, they ran out of the 321 case and started applying the paint instead of the metal pin as the logo. So that's where we're at right now. So there are more in production than I first anticipated, because I first anticipated that they only were doing this for 9 weeks at the most, when in fact it's through the remainder of 68 and at least 4 months of 69. So when did the 861 come out in 1968? That would be a good question. What month did it come out? Because then that would tell us, okay, from if it came out in August, then we know there are several months, August, September, October, November, December. We'd have a few months there, plus the 4 months of April at minimum. We'd be looking like at an 8-9 month production run where they still use the 321 case. Make sense?
Limited to a 9-month production span, but limited to a couple of months production span. Okay. And we're going to get to that next. So, but what I want you to understand, I know some of you are probably wondering what the hell are the colors in the chart. It took me a little while to figure out what the colors in the chart mean. And what it means is that that watch was still produced during those years. So if you look at the 1966 145012, and it's in a cream colored box, yellow box, it was produced in 66, 67, and 68. The watch that the 145022 with serial numbers to the right, 26, was produced in 68, 69, and I'm guessing that means that some were produced in 70. Okay, so that's the trickle down of them. Yeah, blue shirt. I know the Pepsi, the Batman prices are way out of control. It's crazy. It's crazy. As a matter of fact, I you don't know unless you get the money in your hand, but somebody from Craigslist made a final deal with me on my Rolex sub, and it looks like they're going to buy my Rolex sub for $9,700.
In the chat,
the one that I showed you that has a Rolex 2-year service. I haven't worn it since I got it. I agreed on $9,700. He's supposed to meet me on Tuesday to get the watch. I'm not loyal to any strangers, so if any of you guys want my 2012 Rolex serviced sub for $9,700, it's yours, man. You can have it. But this guy's supposed to get it on Tuesday, but you don't know until the money's in your hands. So I basically replaced my Rolex sub date with this vintage Speedy. Okay. Okay, so where are we at now? I think we got enough of this chart. Okay, one last thing on this chart. We can look at serial numbers. We're going to come back and reference this. You see the serial numbers, how they start with 24, 25, 26. All right, so we'll just keep that in mind. All right, let's go to another. Let's go back to the article. And real quick, did you guys know that Bitcoin is at 9,930? So my very first live stream that I did, the very first live stream, I was talking about crossing over 8,000 on Bitcoin. And now we're talking about crossing 10,000. All right. So I've got some Bitcoin here dedicated for my Grail watch, which is going to be a perpetual calendar Patek or a data graph. And I'm basically telling you that I bought a Bitcoin for $3,500. And when Bitcoin reaches $100,000, I'm going to get me a freaking $100,000 watch. And that watch is going to have cost me $3,500. Watch when I do that live stream. That's going to be
we got close,
that's
man.
The greatest live stream.
It went up to 70,000.
70,000 it hit. Proportions. All right.
Damn.
And I think you guys would agree. Okay. Now let me get back to the Omega.
Time, isn't it?
I lost my train of thought here. Okay, this article is going to kind of help guide my discussion here. So, let's see here. Oh, you know, which watch did the guy wear on the moon? I don't really give a damn which one he wore on the moon, but it wasn't any of these ones we're looking at, because it was the one that Clive referenced, the 105012 is the one that actually went on the moon. And also one of the moon watches because one astronaut wore one and one astronaut wore the other. All right. All right. You know what? I'm going to cut from the bullshit. Let's pull up my watch. Where's my watch at? Right here. Okay, this is the watch that I bought. This is the watch that I bought. Now, let me talk. I'm going to talk about the differences here real quick. This is the watch that I bought. This is it. I found it on eBay and on Chrono24. Now, here's the differences between mine and a regular. So let's talk about the differences between mine and a regular 1968 Transitional. One of the things you want to look for is the bezel. The bezel is extremely important. I have a dot over 90 bezel. So if you look at the 90 on the bezel, there's a dot above the 90. It's in its proper position. Okay. In lots of other, in any other speedies, the dot's going to be beside the 90. So that's one of the things you want to look for. You want to look for the dot above the 90. All right. The next thing you want to look for is the step dial. So if you see the minute track around the dial is actually stepped down. You can see the step on the watch. There you go. You see the step on the watch? So that's another important design feature on the transitional model. Okay. The last thing is the Omega applied logo. So the applied logo at 12 o'clock, it's a steel logo that's been applied. It's not painted. All right. So what does that mean? Only when I talked about these watches being produced for 9 months, this 1968 transitional model, only some of them got that applied logo. The rest of them are painted. There isn't an applied logo. So finding one of these Omega transitionals with an applied logo, to me, is a little bit more of a rare find.
I mean, I think at most it would be a 1-year production run. I mean, I found out in the article that they did it until they ran out of them, basically, until they ran out of the cases. So it was no date set in stone. It was literally when they ran out of them. So did they have them through the entire year of 69 or just through April or May or June or July? I guess, you'd have to know what's out there, I guess, to know for sure.
Okay, and to be honest, that's why I jumped on it. So if you look at this one, for example, you can see here that the dot is besides the 90. Okay, the dot's beside the 90. The Omega logo is painted on. It's not an applied steel logo. And the ring around the minute track is flat. It's not recessed. So let's see here. Okay, I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit. Serial numbers. Serial numbers were produced on the case back, but on the older watches, the serial numbers are on the inside case back. So if you look at mine here, oh, I'm sorry, my serial number's on my motor. Now they're on the cases, but prior it was on the motor. So here's the serial number. You can see it here. It says 273-24589. So now what I did was I went and referenced my table here, and I could see that you can see it here on the corresponding chart. So 273 is what mine starts with, right? 273. So you can see here, here's a serial number, 273. 273 starts right here. Now, Clive, I was going to ask you about this, but I thought it was pretty simple explanation. Why does the one I bought, why does it have a serial number starting with 27 when it's a 1968 watch and the 27 refers to a 1969? Well, I don't think it matters, because you see how the orange box goes from 68, 69, and 70. So basically those watches were produced and released throughout 68, 69, and 70.
Exactly. So mine was produced in 1969 of April, and that is this one here, the 27. So the 26 serial number ended prior to April, because mine's a 27. You can kind of
So
piece
I've got
together the history of these if you had a few collectors with a few of these watches. So you've got me. If several other of you were out there and had these watches and we put our information together, we could kind of piece together a little bit of a date history here.
68 Transitional with an applied logo that, it just so happened that they got in their warehouse the new movements, and one of them went in my watch, the 27 serial number, right, Fivers?
So a good question is, did any of the 28 serial numbers, any of the serial numbers starting with 28 that were produced in 1970, the last of these ones in orange, right? Were any of these produced with the 321 case, applied metal logo case? When did they run out? That'd be kind of a good question there.
I wouldn't assume that it's a service motor, because why would it have a serial number so early? If it was a service motor for some reason, then it would have a serial number that would probably be later than that. And it just doesn't make sense anyway. It just makes sense to me that it is the correct corresponding piece. So what's going to go up, bud? So let me see here. I kind of lost my whole mojo. Where am I at? Okay. I know where I want to go. Okay. So let's go here to let's go to transitional. The transitional. Here we go. Okay, check this out. Okay, the Lamagna based movement. Okay, changed from a column wheel chronograph 321 to a shuttle cam chronograph 861, the beat rate increased. Okay, down here in the middle of the paragraph, there are certain Speedmaster Professional -68 models that have the dial with the applied Omega logo. However, this dial is not identical to the 012 dials, as the sizes of the pins that connect the dial to the movement are different. The final 1968 022 transitional models came, of course, with the dial with the printed Omega logo. It is assumed that October 1968 was the end of the 145012, although the watch was still shipped to distributors and retailers till months after. So do you see how it makes sense that I jumped on this watch? It seems like the production of these Omegas with the logo, with the applied logo, was very short-lived, a very short run. It goes on to say that some of the dials have a discolored or aged bezel that have turned chocolate brown. And if you look at those, they're worth $50,000. I mean, Bob.
So isn't this amazing information right here? This is the highlight of it all pretty much right here in this one paragraph. There are certain Speedmaster Professional 145022-68 models that have the dial with applied Omega logo. However, this dial is not identical to the 145012 dials, as the sizes of the pins that connect the dial to the movement are different. The final 145022 models came, of course, with the dial with the printed Omega logo. It is assumed that the October 1968 was the end of the 145012. So the final 145022s came out with a printed logo. The final ones. So looking at this chart right here,
it is.
I'm not sure what they mean by that exactly. Huh. Well, oh yeah, they're saying that all of the rest came with the printed Omega logo. The final models, of course, came with the printed Omega logo. Yes, of course. So it says there are certain 022-68 models the 68 models. What model was mine? I mean, mine has it, but what did mine say on the inside of the case? I think I showed it right here, didn't I? The inside of my case, and I mentioned right here, right? I think I show the inside of my case here. There. Ah, you see? There's the inside of my case. 145022-68ST. So what does the ST mean? I don't know what the ST means. I don't recall what the ST means. I had to have found that out, right? I wouldn't have left that to my mind to wander, right? I wonder if I bring that up in this video. ST, what does the ST stand for? Speedmaster Transitional? No, I mean, it's not going to stand for something like that. But I do have that dash 68. You see that? It is the 145022-68, which in the article here says, right here in the article, it says in this paragraph here, well, what happened to me? In this paragraph here, it says, right, in the 1, 2, 3, in the fourth paragraph, does my cursor show when I'm doing that? I don't know. But the fourth paragraph, 1, 2, 3, the fourth paragraph midway says, there are certain Speedmaster Professional 145022-68 models that have the dial with the applied metal logo. However, this dial is not identical to the 145012 dials, as the sizes of the pins that connect the dial to the movement are different. Okay. So in that one sentence, they're saying that my case is not identical to the 321 case, that it had to be slightly modified for the pins to fit. Remember, I've mentioned that over and over again, right? That it had to be slightly modified to fit the 861 motor, right? So that's why it happened. And they didn't want to deal with modified cases anymore, or for some reason they didn't want to make that modified case any longer. So they just decided to paint it. I guess we'll never know the exact reasoning behind going from metal logo to painting. So it is assumed that October 1968 was the end of the 145012 case, although the watch was still shipped to distributors and retailers till months after. Okay. So that really pins it down, right? So I didn't even really realize that until really reading this over now with you. It's only the dash 68 models. And it doesn't even say all of them. It says there are certain dash 68 models that have the applied metal logo. So maybe not even all of them. So I just really, really think that makes my Omega maybe even more rare than I thought, right? How tight is that production window of that dash 68? Because the dash 68 is the only one that has an 861 with a metal logo on it, and with all the other, possibly with some of those other design features in the dial, like the step down case, the larger second hand, the weight at the second hand, maybe, you know what I mean? Okay, so then looking back at this chart, we know mine was produced with a 27 serial number in 1969, and it's a 145022. So the dash 68, I mean, it had to have been produced, in my mind, through 1968. So I would say all the 1968 watches And then all the watches through 1969, possibly some through 1970, if they have the -68 on the case back, on the inside case back. Because what's one of the prerequisites for it to be a transitional, right? So let's talk about what's required for the watch to be transitional. First and foremost, it has to be a 145.022-68. If it's not a 145.022-68, it's not a transitional. If it is a -68, it's a transitional if it has the metal logo. You feel me? That's the qualifier to make it a transitional, is that metal logo. That's the in-between piece, transition. That's what transition means. That's the in-between piece, the one that wasn't before and the one that wasn't kept final after, but the one that was available in transition between prior model, current offering at the time. Literally, the definition of transition is the 145.022-68 with applied metal logo. This is the funnest watch I've ever bought, for sure, without a doubt. The history of this watch, I could never get rid of this damn thing.
$1,000. I mean, Bob's has one. Was it Bob's? No, European Watch Company has one. Favorite place. Look,
The 321
European
is
Watch
Lamagna
has one
movement.
right here. Okay, and it's $50,000.
Sure.
And why does it have a tropical brown dial? Because
Good morning.
they used a crappy lacquer on the dial, which aged and turned brown and started peeling. And so it's damaged. It's damaged to the dial. And the damage to this dial, this bubbling lacquer, it's a bubbling lacquer. You see it? You see how it's bubbling? That bubbling lacquer raised the price of this watch to $48,500, okay? Now, this is a 321, 1967. So this is a year prior. You'll see that it has the applied logo. See the applied logo. It has the step bezel, and it has the dot over 90. So my 68 pre-transitional, okay, I'm going to call it pre-transitional because it has the applied logo, whereas the transitional does not have the applied logo.
So I thought mine was a 68, but it's a 69 now that I got the paperwork.
012 model as you can get. It's the last homage.
Well, what a
to the
fun
prior
watch to
model.
have.
So to me, I just kind of feel like I found a little diamond in the rough.
I think that because of all of
Fuck
this,
the new old stock, bud. Don't.
this
And
makes
if
it
you're
my
if you're
favorite
gonna
watch.
wear the watch, bud,
Probably, no doubt.
why would you want to get new old stock if you're gonna wear the
know what I mean?
watch and depreciate yourself, $1,800, $1,600? Absolutely not. And it doesn't have the dot over 90 bezel. And it doesn't have an applied logo, which is telling me it's a service dial. Why doesn't this 67 Speedmaster have a dot over 90 bezel? Because it's a service bezel. Why doesn't it have an applied logo? Because it's a service dial. Okay. And they're selling it for $9,000.
Oh man,
I mean,
what a crappy deal that was.
watch
They're
is
offering, huh?
$49,000 with
Holy
a service
shit.
bezel and a service dial. Okay. So be careful what you're buying. Okay, what else did I want to go over? The bracelet. Okay, the bracelet. Let's go over the bracelet. So
Oh
the
man,
watch
I
I'm
spent
getting
money on
comes
that
on a NATO
bracelet like
strap.
a crazy man.
I decided I probably want to have the bracelet with this watch. And so I researched the bracelets. And lo and behold, I couldn't believe it. I was shocked to see that the bracelets are $2,000 for this watch. There's a couple of bracelets that'll fit on here. There's the 1039 original, which they stopped producing in the 60s. And then there's the 1171, which will run about $600-700. And it's the replacement bracelet. Okay. So I found a guy on Instagram who is going to sell me the bracelet for $1,500. So I think I got a good deal. But you should know that the bracelet's worth, a couple of $1,000s. So if you're looking at buying one of these, it's important you get the bracelet, and it's important that you understand the end links are separate from the bracelet. So the end links, the part that fits the bracelet onto the case, this section that you see down here at the bottom with the pin is the end link. Let me show you what I mean.
Yeah, definitely
Okay.
cheaper
The end link.
for sure.
So look at this, for example.
Man,
This son of a
made
bitch
me
is
love
selling the
Omega.
end links for
I've always been an
$1,000.
Omega fan. It was one of my first watches. Omega was. I love them.
And then you want to buy the bracelet here for $1,400, and then buy the links from the other guy. So that's going to cost you $2,400. This one was $1,400, but it was
this is
dragged
killing me watching how much I
to
spent
hell
on
and
this.
back.
I don't even want to watch this part. I bought that shit for $2,000. So my Omega basically
That one,
cost
actually,
me,
that one looked
I
pretty
had it
good.
written down
There was
here.
another one here that looked like it was
somewhere.
dragged through hell and back.
Exactly what I.
Okay,
put down
so
cost
now that
Omega.
you know the bracelet costs, this is the best one that I found from Ohio. Okay, $2,100, and it comes with the links. So now I found one on Instagram. So once I get the watch and I certify that the watch is authentic,
I made
etc.,
$11,000 on that watch or something like that. 11,300. 11,300 with.
Why do I want the bracelet so bad?
My stuff.
Because the bracelet wasn't produced after 68, 69, and as time goes on,
because it had
that
a
bracelet.
my watch
I
also
checked the
had
history of the price on that bracelet, and in 2015 it was $500.
my watch also had a replaced crystal on it. When I inspected it, that was the only thing that wasn't original on the watch was the crystal, because it didn't have an original Omega crystal on it. There was no logo in the crystal, so I knew the crystal was replaced. So I got an original acrylic from Omega, and had that put on there. So that cost me quite a bit of money, actually. Those aren't cheap.
So it's gone up 400%.
I think it was like $75
in 4 years. So in the future, you're going to be cost prohibited from buying that bracelet. It's just going to be priceless. It's going to be worth more than the watch. So nobody will sell them and nobody will buy them. You're just going to be stuck with what you got at some point.
I think so.
So I decided now is the best time to get the bracelet. Now, here's something else interesting that I want you guys to understand. If you're shopping for one of these like me, okay, do you buy one of these bracelets for $2,100? Yeah, maybe so. I found one on Instagram for $1,500, and that's the one I'm going to go for. Okay, but let's say you're here at the $2,100
I went for this one that
Let's say you did not find one. This is going to be kind of important. Okay, so
I went for the one on that Rolex forum.
What I've come up with here. If you're going to spend $2,100 on one of these bracelets because you're missing one, I wouldn't buy the bracelet. I would buy the bracelet, but I would buy the bracelet on another watch. what I mean by that is
Let me skip forward and see what.
a bracelet. It can stay on the NATO. There's a dealer.
I think that pretty much covers what we wanted to learn
Clivers.
about the.
Are you?
What I wanted to watch and relearn about the.
It's the same, right, bud? Doesn't it look the same, bud? But when you look at the picture on the right, the third picture, the one that's set back, so it's in remarkable condition.
So I think this is even before
It's
I
in
bought
remarkable condition. The Hesselite glass, everything, the dial
it. This was
is
before I even bought the watch.
remarkable condition. Even I noticed the hands are patinaed, but I don't see any of the corrosion, which I got to be honest, I hate the corrosion.
Most of the lume on my watch is missing, but at least it's all original, right? Better than it being replaced.
So
I'd rather have.
But look at when you look at this watch now.
Than
when you look at my watch in this picture, do you see where I kind of feel there's a possibility it could be that blue dial?
You can see
do you
very
see that
few
here in
yellow
this
spots.
picture at all?
All the white is where
to me there's a possibility. I see it.
So that was good. I actually learned.
Here's another reason why
right now by going back and looking at this. That's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. Have I searched it? No. I do look every now and then. Sorry, I don't know how that happened. I do look every now and then, and I never see one. And that's the thing. I really never see one. So yeah. And it's never talked about. And they've never given a name for it. They call all of those watches transitionals, but they don't have a special name for the -68 with the logo. Well, what is that? If all the others are transitionals, then what is that one? A super transitional? Super Omega? What is it? They don't have a special name for it. So how come they haven't identified it? How come Fratello Watches and myself are the only ones who've identified that watch is special and it should have its own name, or it should be the only one called transitional, right? It's kind of weird, isn't it? And I kind of feel funny that I came in as a newbie in the watch game 4 or 5 years ago. As far as I'd bought watches before, but just as a consumer, but I never got into the hobby and talking with people about it and stuff like with you guys until 4 years ago, quite literally, when I made this video. And it's funny how a newbie that came into the game, is like privy to this information, but the rest of everybody is not. It just kind of blows me away a little bit, because the Speedmaster is probably the most discussed watch out there and maybe the most prevalent watch in watch collecting. Yet this whole little topic of discussion is entirely missed. It kind of blows me away. Don't you think? Now, the way I put it, if putting it that way, doesn't it kind of blow you away? It does to me. It's odd. It just. Boy, the crickets are chirping. The sun's about to come up. I need to go back to sleep. Okay, fellas. I'm gonna go back to bed, man. It's 5:55 a.m. here. Thank you for joining me. I'm glad I did that little stream there. Relearned about the transitional, more specifically about really pinning it down to the -68 on the case back and the serial numbers and the time period of production. So I feel more more re-knowledged about the topic now that I have my papers and rewatch this. Now when I talk about it again with somebody, I can be a little bit more accurate and knowledgeable with my information, right? Very simply, it has to be a 022-68. If it's not a -68, then it's not going to have. And some of them have the Omega logo. Only some of them do. Now, I think you could. Let me see if I go back to that chart. One last time, just check something out here. One last time, just check something out here. You see on the chart, they don't show the extensions. What I mean by the extension is it just says on the numbers, it's ST1450022. It's 145.022, but it doesn't have the -68 on the chart. What does the -68 mean? Do you think it means that the case was produced in 1968? It seems kind of a coincidence that 1968 is the year there and my case is a -68. I know my watch was produced in 69, but in that paragraph they said that some of the watches, the case produced in 68, some of the cases for the 69 watches, right? I wonder if that's what the -68 means, if that has to do with the year. So are there 145.012-67s, -68s, -66s of those? Is that something they only did in a certain time period or with certain models, adding the dash with the numbers in the back? Where does the -68 mean? What does it come from? See what I mean? I think that's the next thing I want to perhaps research a bit. Oh, okay, Thomas. Some of them say they are transitionals. Let me see on there. How many of them have logos on them? .145.022. Okay, let's see here. Let's go to that screen. Yeah, that could be the year, right? So here we go. So you see -68 STs. Just like mine says, ST. There you go. And these have the metal logo, guys. So these are the real transitionals. Just this. That's it. You see, I'm with that. I'm with that. Man, only one in the United States. Only one in the United States right here. Oh, look, it's not a dot over 90 bezel. You see that? So it has a replacement bezel. It has a service bezel. Service bezel, and it's in pretty bad looking condition. But it does have the original bracelet. So that makes it, a winner. So, I paid about 11,000 for mine with everything, with papers, a mint bracelet, basically serviced, new acrylic. Mine's in with a .90 bezel, so that really puts mine in line with my price, actually, because this one does not have the dot over 90 bezel. So that's the only one available in the United States. You see that? Oh, thanks for bringing that up, Thomas. Thank you for bringing that up. That's really interesting, Thomas. Cool. I'll check that out. Speedmaster 101. So you see this, at least on Chrono 24, the people advertising this seem to know, or at least they're distinct in their advertising when they're selling their watch by putting the -68 ST. See, here's one where they talk about the bezel changing color that is highly desirable. You can tell it's kind of like it changed somewhat like a blue, but they didn't take care of this one. It would have been worth a lot. Wow, bezel's beat up bad. You see the condition really, and it's got an old 11 bracelet. Oh, look at the papers there. March of 69. Oh, March of 69. Oh, so that's neat to see that. So mine is April of 69. You see that? That's neat. Really neat to see that. Paperwork a month before mine. Huh. So what we want to see is paperwork for, we want to see as much of this paperwork as possible on these, and always know which is the latest one, because that'll be proof of the latest production of one of these. You know what I mean? So interesting. This is so interesting to me. Here's one for 11.7. See? But it doesn't have the proper bracelet. It dot over 90. Oh, the bracelet, is it proper? I can't tell. Doesn't that look... Oh, this paperwork is almost like mine. April 69. Man, this is like one day different than mine. I think mine's April 19, as a matter of fact. I'm pretty sure. This one's April 18. I think he might have the original bracelet on here. Dang, this one is a good one. See? Dot over 90. My bezel's in better shape. And you see that dirty tritium? You see how the tritium is dirty? I don't know. That's tough to deal with, man. I don't like that dirty tritium. It's white and dirty. I mean, I don't even think that's tritium. I think the tritium's come off and now it's like white dirty. Mine doesn't look like that. I don't like that. There's some peeling in the subdial here. Either that or there's a hair in there or something, a fabric. So it looks like even with watch prices coming down, now the watch is basically worth what I paid for it. If I was to sell it, I would probably list it for more than what this guy listing this one for, because mine's better than this one. And mine would be the only good one. Mine would be the only one for sale in the United States, because there was only one, right? But it was an ugly one. This one's got to be a scam. No way someone's going to sell this tropical dial for $5,500. Oh, it's not tropical dial. It's just patinaed. It's pretty, though. That's a nice one. This is a scam. Italian from Italy. Well, what is that? That's not even the right case. That's not even the right watch. What is that? Look at the case. What is that? Is that just an odd picture? It's kind of maybe just a weird picture. I guess it's just a weird picture. It looks really fat for some reason. But regardless, that would be nice if it was real. So there you go. Thanks for bringing that up, Thomas. That's interesting. There's your market for Speedmasters. But only one in the US with a replacement bezel that doesn't match. Huh. Yeah, mine is definitely a premium example now that I put it together. And I have the right bracelet on there. So it's the right model and period correct. The only thing that sucks about it is that the bracelet is dated 1971 when the watch is 1969. So I wish I had a bracelet stamped -69 instead of -1971. I just wish I did. You know, that would have been so perfect. But I mean, come on, to have found the exact year, that would have been pretty tough, right? That would have been pretty tough. Yeah, so mine is actually a very premium example, Thomas. You're correct. Man, I'm in love with this thing. I'm in love with it. It's beautiful. That's it there. And yeah, the bracelet is clean. The bracelet's clean. Look at that. Very clean. The bezel is mint perfect. Even Cliver said this was one of the best bezels he's ever seen. There's just one kink in the bracelet, but it doesn't affect the wear or anything. But you see that one little kink right there? And there's no way to fix it. So very delicate, you know. I try not to wear it much. Okay, I'm going to end the show. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for joining. Take it easy, guys. Peace.